Before mountains rose and kingdoms formed across the island of Timor, there existed only the burning winds, the trembling earth, and the great waters that shaped the coastline like a spiraling blade. In those primordial days, the island was watched over by an ancient being, Kakaloko, the dragon guardian, whose scales shimmered like volcanic glass and whose breath carried the heat of creation itself. The people of early Timor lived between fire and sea. They built homes beside cliffs carved by storms, planted crops in soil blessed by the dragon's slumber, and whispered stories of a prophecy. When the earth splits and the sea roars, a child of humans and spirits will rise to decide the fate of Timor. That child, though yet unborn, would determine whether the island fell into shadow or rose into harmony. As centuries passed, villages grew, alliances formed, and rival clans fought for dominion, yet all trembled whenever the earth rumbled beneath their feet. For deep beneath Mount Ramolo, Kakaloku stirred, sensing that the long-awaited age of trials was near. This is the tale of Lalaron, a child touched by both storm and fire, of Ru, the sea-born wanderer, and of the ancient dragon, whose awakening would change the destiny of Timor-Leste forever. The island stands at the edge of war. The spirits whisper. The volcano sleeps lightly, and the first chapter of the legend begins. Chapter 1. The birth under the Ashen Moon, the night the child was born. The sky itself seemed to hold its breath. A vast curtain of smoke drifted across the heavens, shrouding the world in an eerie glow. The moon, normally bright and silver, hung heavy and dim, its light muted by ash. From the distant mountains came the low rumble of a sleeping volcano, trembling as if stirred by the arrival of a fate it had not yet decided whether to fear or revere. Deep within the forest of blackened pines, a woman in white staggered toward a clearing. Tore through her. Her breaths came sharp and shallow, but her eyes were steady eyes that had seen visions of the future long before this night arrived. Her name was Mira, last surviving oracle of the Ember Mountain, and she knew her child was not meant for an ordinary life. Not when the moon dimmed for her, not when the wind whispered warnings in ancient tongues, not when fire spirits stirred beneath the crust of the earth, restless and hungry. The clearing opened before her, illuminated only by the ghostly shimmer of the Ashen Moon. Myra fell to her knees, gripping the cold earth as the final contraction surged. Pain overwhelmed her, yet she did not scream. Oracles did not fear agony, they read within it. And within this pain, she saw a prophecy. A child born under an ashen moon. A spirit born in two worlds, fire and shadow. A destiny that would decide the fate of kingdoms. When the baby's cry pierced the night, the winds stilled. Even the trembling mountains seemed too quiet, listening. Mira wrapped the newborn in a cloak embroidered with runes of protection. The infant's skin glowed faintly, as though embers lived beneath it, and his eyes, barely open, gleamed with a copper-gold light not meant for mortal children. A hush swept over the clearing. Then came the footsteps. From between the darkened pines emerged a figure cloaked in deep crimson, carrying a spear that shimmered like molten glass. His presence radiated heat-controlled, but powerful enough to warp the air around him. As he approached, the frost on the grass melted. His eyes flickered like dying flames. "Oracle," he said softly, "it has been foretold." Mira cradled the child closer. "Then you know why you cannot take him." The warrior lowered his spear. "The fire court demands it. The child is born under the Ashen Moon. His blood carries the mark of both realms. You know what that means? He will choose his own destiny, she replied. Not the courts, not the kings, and certainly not yours. The warrior hesitated. The fire court was not known for hesitation. Mira, he said at last, the volcano stirs because of him. The spirits awaken. If he is not guided, the realms will burn. And if he is taken, she countered, the realms will burn sooner. Lightning flashed across the shrouded heavens silent, but bright enough to momentarily light the forest as though day had returned. The warrior shielded his eyes. Mira did not. She knew what it was. The sky serpent had seen the child's birth. That meant time was already running short. Mira, the warrior said, voice now trembling with urgency, please, give him to us. We will train him. We will protect him. You will shape him into something he was never meant to be. Her voice softened. He is neither weapon nor shield. He is a bridge. The warrior's grip tightened around his molten spear. You speak of legend, of myths, but this is reality. The world is changing. The fractures between realms widen. The Shadow Coast grows bold, and the Ashen Moon marks his arrival. Myra whispered, not his doom. The baby whimpered softly, tiny sparks flickering from his breath before fading. The warrior stared, conflicted. Awe and fear battled in his expression. He will be hunted, he warned, by both sides. The fire court fears what he may become. The shadow court desires it, settled over the clearing like falling snow. The warrior stepped back not in surrender, but in reluctant obedience. His name, he murmured. At least tell me that. Mira looked down at the infant her son, born under a dying moon, destined for a world already trembling beneath his feet. His name is Asher, she said, Child of Ember and Shadow, one who will stand when mountains fall. The warrior bowed his head. Then may the fires guard him, and may the shadows spare him, she replied. The warrior vanished into the trees, leaving only the faint scent of smoke behind. Mira held her child close, whispering ancient words that wrapped the clearing in a protective ward. She could already feel the forces of the world, converging currents of destiny weaving around the newborn, binding him to paths of danger and triumph, both. A sudden tremor rippled through the earth. The volcano in the distance exhaled a plume of fire-red ash into the sky, scattering sparks across the wind. Ashar blinked. The sparks danced above him. He reached out, tanned. They obeyed. Mira felt her breath catch. Yes, she whispered. You are already awakening. The moon dimmed further, swallowed by swirling ash, as if the heavens themselves bowed before the child. Ashar, born under the Ashen Moon. Ashar, the foretold ember of two realms. Ashar, who would either bridge the worlds or break them. Mira rose, clutching her son to her chest, and turned toward the hidden path leading deeper into the mountains. There was only one place left where she could keep him safe. Only one sanctuary untouched by fire court or shadow court. Only one refuge where a child like Asher could grow unseen. And so began the journey of the child destined to reshape the fate of the realms. Chapter 2. The Prophecy of the Split Realms and the Child of Embers. The ashes from the last great eruption of Mount Kinablu still drifted across the sky like ghostly feathers, veiling the sun in a dim orange glow. In the village of Tana Awu, elders had gathered in the circle of stones, their faces lit by the wavering flames of ritual torches. They had received word whispers from wandering spirits, signs etched into falling embers, and tremors in the earth that the child born under the Ashen Moon was no ordinary newborn. They called her Lara, though the ancient ones whispered another name, the Child of Embers. And on this night, the elders sought truth, the shaman of the two winds. At the center of the circle stood old shaman Rujak, his long white hair stirring in a wind no one else could feel. He placed his palm upon the warm earth, chanting in a trembling voice. When he rose, ash fell from his hands like burning snow. "The mountain speaks," he said, eyes dark with burden, "and the realms stir once more." The villagers murmured. For generations, they had believed in the two realms, the realm of Ember, birthplace of fire spirits and guardians of the volcanic heart, the realm of mist, home to the cloud titans, river spirits, and watchers of the skies. Both realms kept the fragile balance of nature, but prophecy foretold a time when the realms would split, severed by a being of immense power. Lara's father stepped forward, clutching his newborn close. "Rujak, what does the mountain say of her? She is just a child." Riak's gaze softened, but his voice remained grave. "She is the spark that can heal the realms or divide them forever." Thunder growled across the distant peaks, the ancient Ember tablet. From his robe, Rujak withdrew a relic wrapped in silk, a slab of volcanic stone, etched with glowing runes, runes older than any kingdom, older even than the mountains themselves. The Ember tablet. The runes shifted behind her, the volcano blazed with molten fury. Before her, mist swallowed mountains whole. The two realms clawed at each other like beasts, threatening to engulf the world in eternal chaos. Ruyak translated the lines faintly burning on the tablet. "When the Ashen Moon rises, a child shall be born, one whose heart carries both ember and storm. She shall decide the fate of the split realms. Through her, fire and mist shall either unite or unravel." The villagers trembled. Lara, sleeping in her mother's arms, let out a soft sigh, and a tiny spark glowed at her fingertips. Signs in the realm of mist, while Tana Awu grappled with prophecy. Far across the valley, the realm of mist stirred with unease. High in the clouds, the Mist Queen Soraya felt the shift of fate ripple through the sky. Her silver wings spread wide as she gazed across storm-laden horizons. She sensed the birth of a power unlike any the realms had known for centuries. "The Child of Embers has awakened," she whispered. Her guardians, titans shaped from water and wind, bowed in solemn acknowledgement. One, named Thaler, rumbled like distant thunder. "If the realms truly split, all balance will crumble. Shall we act, my queen?" Soraya's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "Not yet. The prophecy speaks of choice, not doom. Let the child grow, but keep the skies vigilant. They will come for her." The clouds stirred uneasily. The Ember Lord awakens deep within Mount Kinabulu, in chambers carved from molten stone. The Ember Lord Carvos awakened. His body was magma, his breath smoke, his eyes twin furnaces. When he rose, the walls glowed like metal in a forge. He had felt the birth as a tremor in his very core. The spark returns. He growled, molten voice rippling through the caverns. He extended a hand, and flames shaped themselves into dancing images of Lara, a human child, fragile yet burning with ancient potential. Carvos clenched his jaw. If she falls into the wrong hands, the realms will tear themselves apart. His molten armor hardened into jagged obsidian plates. "Prepare the fire sentinels," he commanded. "We watch from the shadows until the child's path becomes clear." The caverns roared with agreement. The village shadowed back in Tana Awu. The winds shifted cold, sharp, unnatural. Lara's mother pulled her child close. something is coming. Rujak raised his staff. Everyone inside your homes. The prophecy has awakened forces older than empires, and one of them approaches now. A ripple of mist drifted into the village. It swirled above the circle of stones, forming the half-shape of a figure cloaked in cloud. Its voice echoed like wind through hollow bamboo. Child of Embers. The realms call you. Lera's father stepped forward defensively. Stay away. But the figure ignored him, its gaze fixed on the sleeping infant. She must be protected, the mist being intoned. For already, hunters from beyond the peaks seek her, creatures born not of fire nor cloud, but of the rift itself. Ryak's grip tightened on his staff. Then the realms have begun shifting, sooner than expected. The mist being nodded solemnly. Guard her well, shaman, for she may be the only barrier between two worlds, and the one who might one day bring them together. Then the figure dissolved into swirling vapor and vanished. The wind fell silent. The villagers turned to the shaman, fear in their eyes. What do we do now? Someone whispered. Rujak looked at Larasmal, fragile and glowing faintly with emberlight. We prepare, he said, for storms, for shadows, and for a destiny that will shape both realms. He lifted his staff toward the mountains, and we pray that when the time comes, she chooses unity over destruction. Chapter 3: The First Rift Beast and the Burning of Tana Awu. The night the first rift beast emerged, the winds over Tana Awu howled with the voices of the dead. The volcano silent since the birth of Sagarabi began to tremble with a grinding subterranean rage. At first, the villagers dismissed the shudders as another tantrum of the restless mountain. After all, Tana Awu was known for its moods. One day breathing warm mist, the next rattling the earth beneath sleeping feet. But this was different. There was a weight in the air, thick and suffocating, as if the sky itself braced for something unspeakable. Sagara felt it before anyone else, a tightening in his chest, a furnace-like pulse in his veins. His skin glowed faintly, the ember mark on his wrist flickering like a heartbeat. "The mountain is calling," he whispered. Beside him, his adopted father Yari turned sharply. "No one goes near Tana Awu tonight. Something stirs in the fire." Sagara did not argue, but the ember inside him burned hotter with every passing second. He knew deep within the marrow of his bones that the shuddering earth was not a natural tremor. The prophecy from his infancy whispered back to him, the words of the shaman echoing like a distant chant. When the realms split, the first to bleed will be the mountain. And tonight, Tana Awu bled fire. The rift opens the sky above the crater, tore open with a bone-rattling crack. Not lightning, not flame. A fracture in reality itself. A jagged rift burst open, seething with swirling violet energy. It pulsed like an open wound in the sky, radiating malice. The villagers gasped, many falling to their knees, believing the gods had abandoned them. From the bleeding rift, a colossal claw pushed through long obsidian, dripping with molten ichor that hissed as it struck the earth. Then came the roar, a sound that shook trees from their roots and turned marrow to ice. The first rift beast had arrived. It emerged fully from the tier, a towering brute of smoke and magma. Its body forged from volcanic rock, its eyes burning with ember gold hatred. Each step melted the ground beneath its feet. Each breath spewed streams of ash and poisonous steam. Tana Awu responded with fury. The volcano erupted not in resistance, but in pain. Lava burst from its throat, spilling down its slopes in rivers of fire. Ash clouds billowed upward, blanketing the sky in choking darkness. The villagers ran for their lives, but the beast moved with terrifying speed, smashing huts, uprooting trees, leaving trails of molten ruin in its wake. And Sagara watched, helpless, as the only home he had ever known burned to cinders. The beast hunts the Child of Embers. The rift beast paused. Its gaze turned toward the village, no, toward him. It sniffed the air, nostrils flaring with molten smoke, then unleashed a roar so powerful it shattered the ceremonial stones by the riverbank. "It knows me," Sagara whispered, trembling. "It's searching for me." Yari placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Then we run. Now." But the ground split open before them, a molten fissure cutting off their retreat. The beast growled, fire leaking between its teeth. Its immense head lowered, studying Sagara with a cruel intelligence. The Child of Embers. The one who would become the bridger, the destroyer between realms. The beast lunged. Yari shoved Sagara aside and seized a burning spear from the debris of a fallen hut. He hurled it with all his strength. It struck the beast's leg with a crack, embedding itself in molten hide. The rift beast turned its gaze on Yari. "No," Sagara screamed. The beast struck with its tail. Yari was thrown across the burning earth like a rag doll, crashing into the remains of their hut. Sagara rushed to his side, choking on smoke. "Move, Sagara." Yari coughed, blood staining his lips. "You must survive. The mountain chose you." The prophecy, a shadow, loomed over them. The beast raised a claw the size of a boulder. Sagara threw himself over Jerry's body, bracing for the killing blow. The ember awakening, the claw descended and burst into flame. A dome of roaring fire erupted around Sagara, swirling like a living storm. The rift beast staggered backward, bellowing in pain as molten cracks spread across its arm. Sagara rose slowly, eyes blazing like the volcanic core itself. The ember mark on his wrist was no longer flickering. It surged like a burning star, spilling radiant energy across his body. Flames circled him, not consuming him, but sharpening into tendrils of living fire. Yari stared in awe. "Sagara, what are you?" Sagara didn't know. He could barely understand the power burning through him. But he knew one thing. If he didn't stop the beast, the entire island would be ash. He stepped forward, fire spiraling around his arms like gauntlets. "You want me?" he said, his voice trembling yet fierce. "Then face me." The rift beast roared and charged. The burning of Tana Awu. The two forces collided, fire against fire, ember against magma. The ground convulsed. Ash clouds exploded upward. Villagers fleeing down the slopes turned to see their mountain lit like a second sun. Sagara fought without technique or training, driven only by instinct and the raw force within him. Each movement released arcs of fire that clashed against the beast's molten hide. The beast retaliated with torrents of lava and crushing blows that shattered stone. Sagara was flung backward, skidding across the burning earth. The beast advanced, jaws dripping fiery venom. For a moment, Sagara faltered. His strength waned. His fire flickered. Then he heard Jerry's voice, faint but steady. "Stand, Sagara. The ember is not a weapon. It is a promise. A promise to live, to protect." Sagara rose. He slammed his palms together, and a surge of flame erupted outward, engulfing the beast in a column of incandescent fire. The creature writhed and bellowed, molten cracks racing across its form. With a final roar, it collapsed into the lava flow, its body dissolving into molten slag. The rift in the sky snapped shut. Silence followed, but it was the silence. Tana Awu burned. The village lay in ashes. The mountain itself trembled with a wounded, uneven heartbeat. Sagara fell to his knees, flames dying around him. "I didn't save them," he whispered. Yari placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "You saved what mattered, you survived, and the prophecy continues through you." Sagara looked at the burning mountain, his home fading into smoke. Something in him hardened. This attack was only the beginning. The realms had begun to tear open. More rift beasts would come, and somewhere, deep within the other realm, someone or something was controlling them. Sagara clenched his fist, the ember mark glowing faintly. "If the realms want war," he said softly, "then I will face it." The flames reflected in his eyes were not destructive. They were the flames of destiny. Chapter 4: The Ashen Exodus and the Road of Broken Spirits. The sun rose weakly through a haze of drifting ash. Its light filtered into a pale, ghostly amber. The land surrounding Tana Awu's lush, once filled with the laughter of fishermen and the rhythmic chants of weavers, now lay muted and gray, coated in the lingering scars of the eruption. What had begun as a tremor had become a cataclysm. What had once been a village had become a memory. In the aftermath of the first Rift Beast's destruction, survivors emerged slowly from the ruins, some limping, some coughing through the thick, acrid fog, others carrying what little remained of their shattered homes. Among them stood the child who had survived fire and prophecy alike, Laksamana Asha, the Emberborn, wrapped in the protective arms of her guardian elder, Mira of the Crescent Shells. The air still vibrated faintly with the echo of the monster's roar, as though the volcano itself replayed the memory. Ash drifted like snow around the broken remnants of Tana Awu, settling on burned beams, shattered pottery, and the collapsed shrine of the Ashen Moon. For a long moment, no one spoke. Silence was the first burial. But silence could not rebuild their world. The final council of the Ashen Village, the elders gathered among a ring of charred stones, their faces marked by grief and dust. Myra held Asha close as the wind shifted, blowing hot air from the still smoldering crater behind them. Elder Brata, the broad-shouldered keeper of oral lore, leaned on his cracked spear. Elder Sonara, her braids covered in soot, clutched a bundle of rescued manuscripts. Elder Vika, the last guardian of the river wards, stared toward the distant mountains with hollow eyes. "The rift beasts will come again," Sonara said, voice hoarse. This was only the first. The prophecy spoke of a child born under the Ashen Moon, and of realms fractured. Her gaze drifted to Asha, whose ember gold eyes reflected the faint glow of the crater. Brata exhaled heavily. "Then we must leave this place. Tana Awu is no longer a home. The volcano is awake, and the realms, they are tearing." He pointed toward the horizon, where the sky shimmered faintly, as if invisible hands pulled at its edges. Mira stepped forward. "The child must live. If the prophecy is true, she will be the bridge or the blade. We must carry her away from this ruin." The elders nodded, and with that gesture, an unspoken truth became fate. Tana Awu would be abandoned. They would walk the ancient road, the one whispered of in chants and feared in legends, the road of broken spirits, where the boundaries between life and shadow thin, and where the souls of the fallen wander. The Exodus begins when the last ember of Tana Awu's fires finally dimmed. The survivors formed a caravan, each person carrying what little they had, saved an heirloom, a tool, a memory, Children were wrapped in woven shawls, elders supported by young warriors, and the people moved as one broken, determined body. Asha looked back at the ruins of the village, her small fingers clutching Mira's robe. "Is it gone forever?" she whispered. Mira cupped her cheek gently. "Nothing born of fire is ever truly gone. It simply becomes something new." They walked. Behind them, the volcano rumbled softly, a reminder of the beast lurking beneath the molten skin of the earth. But ahead lay the old trade path, cracked and half-consumed by creeping vines. The air grew colder with each step, and the light dimmed inexplicably, as though the sun dared not pierce the land they now approached. A hush fell over the caravan. They had stepped onto the road of broken spirit. Whispers in the ashen wind, the road wound between towering stone pillars, scarred by ancient carvings, depictions of beasts with too many eyes. Rivers flowing upward, and warriors holding torches against swirling shadows. The carvings were older than Tana Awu, older than any living elder's memory. Manara ran her fingers over a stone surface. "These were warnings," she murmured. "The old clans knew the rift beasts long before our time." Asha stepped past her, eyes drawn toward a faint shimmer at the edge of the path. Myra caught her before she wandered too far. "Stay close, child. The spirits here do not understand the living." A cold breeze slithered through the caravan, carrying whispers low, unintelligible but filled with sorrow. Shapes flickered in the mist, blurred silhouettes drifting like fractured memories. Warriors tightened their grips on their spears. Children cried silently, and Asha, she listened. The whispers seemed familiar somehow, like the remnants of a song she had forgotten. Their tones rose and fell like the roar of a distant tide and the crackle of a hearth fire. Her ember-lit eyes glowed faintly, responding to something the others could not see. Mira noticed and knelt beside her. "What do you hear, Asha?" "They are calling my name," the girl said softly. Myra's blood ran cold. "Do not answer them." Asha nodded, though the voices tugged at her heart like gentle fingertips. The night of wandering shadows. As dusk bled into night, they reached the ancient way station Kuda Gelam, a long-abandoned fortress etched into a cliffside. Its roof had collapsed, vines wrapped around its once grand gates, and the entrance was guarded by two cracked statues of tiger spirits, their stone eyes dulled by time. Here they made camp. Fires sputtered as warriors tried to ignite damp wood. Wind howled through the shattered halls like mournful song. Asha sat close to Mira, wrapped in a thick shawl, though the cold air still seeped through her bones. As night deepened, the spirits grew bolder. Shadows drifted between pillars, flickering like the dying flame of a lantern. The outlines of lost travelers appeared, mothers searching for children long gone, warriors carrying invisible burdens, elders whispering forgotten warnings. Brata rose, chanting the old warrior's hymn, his deep voice stabilizing the trembling air, creating a protective circle around the camp. But Asha felt something else, a presence, not sorrowful, not lost, powerful, ancient, watching. The fire closest to her crackled, and the flames bent not upward, but sideways as though pulled by an unseen force beyond the veil. Asha's eyes widened. "Mira, something is coming." The ground shuddered. A low growl vibrated through the stones. And from the deepest shadow within the ruined fortress, a figure began to form, a silhouette with twisting horns, shifting embers beneath its skin, and eyes burning the same molten gold as Asha's. The elders froze, It cannot be, Sonara whispered. The silhouette stepped closer. It bowed, not to the elders, but to Asha. The child trembled. Who are you? The figure's voice rumbled like distant thunder. I am the first ember that answered the Ashen Moon, and you, child of fire, are the one we have been waiting for. The road of broken spirits had led them not into despair, but into revelation, and destiny had finally awakened. Chapter 5: The Ember-Forged Guardian and the Path of Living Shadows. The jungle canopy trembled under the weight of a gathering dusk, its shadows stretching long and jagged across the abandoned volcanic plains. Yara stood at the mouth of the cavern opening that seemed less like a natural formation and more like the wound of a god carved into the earth. The survivors of Tana Awu gathered behind her, their eyes filled with exhaustion, fear, and the faintest spark of hope. Inside the cavern, the path of living shadows awaited a place spoken of in ancient stories told only when storms drowned out unwelcome ears. To the unprepared, the path consumed mind and spirit alike. But of fire, memory, and the will of the earth itself. Yara stepped forward, the ember scar on her wrist glowing faintly beneath her skin. The cavern walls seemed to breathe with her, pulsing with currents of heat. She carried no weapon, only a small ember stone wrapped in cloth, a relic saved from the ruins of Tana Awu. It was all she had left of her mother. Behind her, Elder Samala's voice rose in a trembling whisper. The shadows will test your truth. Do not deny what you fear, or the darkness will feast on your heart. Yara nodded, drawing in a shuddering breath. She entered the cavern. The world behind her fell silent. The corridor of echoing steps as Yara's feet touched the path. The shadows stirred like living smoke. They coiled around her ankles, brushed her shoulders, slithered along her spine. Every echo of her steps reverberated not once, but many times, as if unseen figures walked beside her. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed through the cavern. Yara, why didn't you save us? Her chest tightened. She turned sharply. The shadows behind her twisted into the forms of her lost kin-faces, melted by fire, eyes shimmering with accusation. Yara staggered back, clutching the emberstone. You're not real, she whispered, but her voice shook. The shadow figures lunged. Yara closed her eyes, gripping the emberstone tightly. Its warmth pulsed like a heartbeat. I walked through fire, she said through clenched teeth. I survived, and I will carry your memory, not your blame. A burst of ember light flashed outward. The shadow figures dissolved like smoke, retreating into the walls. The cavern rumbled a sign of approval or warning. Yara continued deeper, the chamber of silent flames. The path widened into a vast chamber illuminated by floating embers suspended in the air like tiny stars. The flames did not burn, rather they hummed with the quiet echo of long-buried voices. Yara moved cautiously, her steps soft. Each floating ember resonated with a faint memory, laughing children, the hum of market stalls, the drums of Tana Awu's festivals. Her heart clenched. One ember drifted toward her, brushing her cheek. She saw not fire, but a memory, her mother's face, smiling gently as she tied a charm around Yara's neck. You walk the path alone, the memory whispered, but never without purpose. Yara reached out, but the ember drifted away and vanished. The birth of the ember-forged guardian. At the center of the final chamber stood an ancient forge carved directly into the volcanic stone. Its anvil was cracked, its basin dry, but the runes etched into its surface pulsed with faint ember light. Yara stepped toward it, compelled by instinct. The moment her fingers brushed the anvil, the entire chamber roared to life. Shadows pooled around her feet, swirling into a vortex. Embers shot upward like sparks from a divine fire. The forge ignited. Molten light surged through its cracks, spilling across the ground in veins of living fire. Yara stumbled back as the lava-like glow gathered into a single pillar in the center of the chamber. From the pillar emerged a shape-first vapor, then flame, then something more. A creature of living embers, humanoid in form but towering and fierce, stepped forward. Its body was a lattice of smoldering stone and fire. Its eyes glowed like two miniature suns. The ember-forged guardian had awoken. It bowed to Yara. The chamber trembled as a deep, resonating voice filled the cavern. "Child of Embers, I rise at your call." Yara's breath caught. You know me." The guardian nodded slowly. "Your blood carries the mark of the split realms. You are destined to walk the path beyond flame and shadow. I am your shield and your test." The guardian raised one massive hand. A blade of obsidian and fire appeared in its grasp. Yara took a step back. "A test. To lead your people," the guardian said. "You must first survive me. Trial of the living flame." The guardian moved with impossible speed. Its fiery blades swept toward Yara in an arc of molten brilliance. She barely rolled aside in time, her heartbeat crashing in her ears. The ground hissed where the blade struck. Yara scrambled to her feet, clutching the emberstone. "I don't want to fight you." The guardian's reply was a roar that shook the cavern walls. "Leadership is forged in fire." The guardian attacked again. Yara ran not from fear, but from strategy. She moved toward the floating embers, weaving between them as the guardian's strikes illuminated the chamber in blinding bursts of fire. Then, as the guardian lunged, Yara pressed the emberstone against one of the floating flames. The ember erupted into a flare of light, repelling the guardian long enough for Yara to confront it. "Your fire is ancient," she said, panting, "but so is mine." She lifted the emberstone. It pulsed with a force she had never felt: ancestral, powerful, resolute. A beam of ember light surged from her hand, striking the guardian square in the chest. The guardian staggered, flames dimming, then knelt. "You have not conquered me," it said, its voice softer now, "but you have proven your heart." The living flames reassembled, forming a sigil on Yara's hands, the mark of the Emberforged. "I am yours to command." Yara of the Ashen Moon. The path forward. When she emerged from the cavern, the survivors gasped. Behind Yara stood the towering Ember-forged guardian, its form blazing like a walking sun. The jungle bowed to its heat. The earth trembled. Elder Samala fell to his knees. "By the ancient realms, she has awakened the guardian." Yara raised her chin, her eyes filled with new strength. "No, I didn't awaken him. The fire in all of us did. And now we move forward." The people straightened. Hope surged through them like a rising tide. The road ahead was perilous. The rift beasts were growing bolder. The split realms were tearing wider. But now they had a guardian. And they had Yorath, the child born under the Ashen Moon, destined to stand against the rising darkness. The path of living shadows had been conquered. The real journey had just begun. Chapter 6. The night the rift trembled, and the fire that would not die night fell over the wandering caravan like a curtain of smoldering velvet. The sky above them was neither fully dark nor fully lit. Instead, faint red veins streaked across the heavens, as though the realm itself bled quietly from the wound of the great rift. The people of Tana Awu huddled close to the embers of their campfires, whispering prayers to ancient spirits, eyes shifting nervously toward the horizon where the volcano's shadow still loomed. Araga sat apart from the others, his ember mark glowing softly on his forearm. The faint crack of fire beneath his skin had become familiar, but tonight it pulsed with an unsettling urgency. It felt as though something unseen pressed against the barrier of the world, something immense, awake and impatient. Master Jiram approached him, staff clicking against the blackened stones. "Your flame is restless," the elder murmured, lowering himself beside Araga. "The rift stirs. It senses you." Araga swallowed the unease in his throat. "Why tonight? We have traveled for weeks without a sign." "Because the rift learns," Jiram said, voice heavy with knowledge no one wished to possess. "It adapts to your presence. Every step you take strengthens the connection between your ember fire and the wound in the world." Araga stared into the darkness beyond the firelight. "How long before it finds me?" Jiram's expression tightened. "Perhaps sooner than we hoped." The trembling begins. It began as a shiver beneath the earth, barely a whisper, a subtle vibration that rippled through the stones. The caravan froze, even the wind held its breath. Then came the second tremor, stronger, hungrier. The ground pulsed like a heartbeat. Cracks split across the soil, releasing thin plumes of glowing fumes. The animals whinnied and stamped, half mad with fear. Mothers pulled their children close. Warriors raised spears, though none knew what direction danger would come from. Lyra, Araga's closest companion since childhood, rushed to his side. Her eyes reflected the shifting embers beneath the ground. "The rift is calling you," she whispered. "I can feel it." "No," Araga murmured, "not calling, pulling." The third tremor struck not a pulse now, but a violent lurch that sent people sprawling. The night sky flashed with a sudden burst of crimson, as if lightning had torn open the horizon. A long, haunting roar echoed across the plains, a sound that was not wind, not thunder, something alive. Fire spilled from Araga's skin in sudden, frightened flickers. The rift opens. A line of blazing light tore across the air itself, splitting the night like a sword carving through cloth. The tier widened with a shriek of burning stone and shattering sky, and from within it, shapes began to emerge. Rift Beast said, unlike the ones that had attacked Tana Awu, these were larger, more defined, their bodies forged from swirling magma and shadow. Their molten eyes glowed with the intelligence of hunters, and the ground hissed beneath their claws. The largest of them stepped forward, its form towering over the caravan like a living mountain of charred flame. A crown of igneous horns spiraled from its skull, and rivers of molten gold ran down its limbs. Master Jiram inhaled sharply. The Moloch, the name fell from his lips like a curse. Araga felt the ember mark sear painfully. The Moloch's molten gaze turned directly toward him. Lyra grabbed his wrist. "Run." But it was already too late. The fire that would not die, the Moloch roared, and a wave of molten air blasted forward. The fires of the camp exploded upward as though sucked into its breath. The caravan scattered in chaos, children screaming, warriors clashing their spearheads against the monster's molten hide to no effect. "Araga," Jiram shouted, "the ember-forged guardian within you must awaken fully. You cannot flee your purpose." Aragos' pulse thundered in his ears. I'm not ready. No one is ready for destiny, Jiram growled. But destiny comes regardless. The Moloch charged, and the earth shook beneath its weight. Araga lifted both hands instinctively, and a torrent of flame erupted from his palms, hotter and brighter than any fire he had ever summoned. The flames struck the beast, but instead of recoiling, it absorbed the fire, its molten veins glowing brighter, as though feeding on Araga's power. Araga, Lyra, cried, "You're making it stronger." He cut off the flames, chest heaving. "Then what do I do?" "Control your fire," Jiram urged. "Shape it. Do not unleash it, blindly bend it to your will." The Moloch let out a guttural roar and lunged. Araga closed his eyes. He breathed, and for the first time, he listened not to the world, but to the ember within him. The flame inside him steadied, then spread, not outward, but inward, into his bones, his pulse, his spirit. His fear burned away, replaced by focused clarity. He opened his eyes. They glowed with the same molten gold as the rift itself. Araga stepped forward. The turning of the battle when the Moloch struck. Araga met the blow with his bare hands now coated in shimmering ember armor, glowing like living obsidian. The impact cracked the air, sending waves of energy exploding in all directions. But Araga held. The caravan stared in disbelief. Lyra gasped, his fireits evolving. Araga twisted, using the beast's own force to throw it off balance. Then he slammed both hands forward, unleashing a concentrated beam of white-hot flame, not a chaotic blast, but a precise spear. The Moloch reeled backward as the beam pierced its molten chest, cracks spiderwebbing across its molten form. For the first time, the rift beast howled in pain. The night the rift trembled, the rift shuddered, violently reacting, not to the beast's injury, but to Araga's awakening power. The crack in the sky flickered, widening as streams of raw energy lashed outward. The other rift beasts, sensing their tether weaken, surged forward in desperation. But the caravan was no longer helpless. Warriors rallied, shamans chanted. Lyra drew her curved obsidian blades, slashing through shadow wolves that lunged toward the children. Master Jiram raised his staff, weaving a barrier of volcanic ash and air that deflected a serpent of molten glass. And at the center of it all stood Araga, blazing like the heart of a newborn star. He leaped toward the Moloch, slamming his ember-wrapped fist into the creature's core. The impact detonated in a thunderous shockwave that flattened the beasts around them. The Moloch collapsed, molten body cracking apart, leaking magma like blood. The rift shrieked, anguished, tearing sound and began to seal itself. Araga dropped to one knee, exhausted, but the ember inside him still glowed fiercely. The fire would not die, not tonight, not ever. The aftermath silence fell as the last tremor faded. The rift sealed into a thin scar of light, faint as a dying star. Jiram placed a trembling hand on Araga's shoulder. It has begun. You are no longer merely marked. Tonight, the fire claimed you fully. Araga looked at his glowing hands. I felt connected to the rift, to the fire, to something ancient. And that connection, Jiram said, is the reason the world trembled tonight. Lyra knelt beside him. If this is what you can do now, what will you become when your power is complete? Araga looked toward the sealed rift. I don't know, he whispered, but whatever I become, I must be ready. The night was still again, but the world had changed, and so had Araga. Chapter 7: The Crown of Cinder and the City Beneath the Lava Sea. The sky over Tana Awu smoldered like an open wound in the heavens. Veins of molten crimson streaked across the clouds, and the ground trembled with the slow, rhythmic pulse of something vast awakening beneath the volcanic crust. For 3 days and nights, Ember now no longer just a wandering child of prophecy. He felt the weight of the Ember-forged Guardian's mark still glowing faintly on his arm, a reminder that destiny had shifted its gaze entirely upon him. But today, as he approached the mouth of a colossal fissure, a different kind of heat emanated from Belowan that hummed with intelligence. "Guardian staff," he whispered. "The rift is calling to you again." Ember swallowed hard. Ember swallowed hard. "Or warning me." "The rift does not warn," Madarin replied. "It reveals." Before Ember could respond, the ground split open with a low, thunderous groan. Lava seeped upward like glowing blood, spreading across the ground until it formed a perfectly smooth surface, one that shimmered like a mirror made of living fire. A voice echoed from within the molten glow, deep and resonant, "Neither male nor female, child of ash, walk the path." The molten mirror solidified into a bridge of cooled obsidian. Beyond it, the lava parted like a curtain, revealing an impossible sight, a city glowing beneath the boiling lava sea, suspended by ancient geometric pillars and domes forged from solidified fire. Ember took a breath that scorched his lungs. This was no ruin. The people hesitated at the edge of the fissure, but Ember stepped forward, compelled by something ancient inside him. Below, the city stretched like a labyrinth of glowing avenues and cinder-forged halls. Lava flowed above them like a shimmering sky, moving in slow, elegant currents. Spires rose from the ground like sharpened teeth. A path of symbols burned beneath him, guiding him toward a central chamber shaped like an enormous, inverted caldera. A throne of blackened basalt stood at its heart, and atop it, a crown floated in midair, forged from condensed embers, its edges dripping fire that never cooled. The voice of the molten thrones. Ember lifted his chin. "It summoned me." A low rumble laughter, or something like it. "Correct, you were chosen before your first breath. The rift split the realms for you. The embers bowed to you. The beast rose for you. And now the crown burns for you. But power is not given, it is claimed." Elder Matoran stepped forward. "He is too young. He is not ready for silence, Old One," the voice commanded. this is not your destiny." Ember swallowed the tightness in his throat. He stepped toward the throne, feeling heat roll over him like tidal waves. The crown brightened until its light pierced the chamber. "What must I do?" Ember asked. "Prove that your flame burns by your own will, not by fate's design. A king of embers must choose his fire." The chamber darkened. The world folded inward. The city itself seemed to bow as Ember stood before them, crowned and radiant, his aura burning with controlled brilliance. Mataran fell to one knee. "So it is true," the elder whispered. "The crown has accepted you. The city recognizes you. You are king." Ember exhaled slowly, the weight of the crown settling onto his shoulders like an entire realm's expectations. "If I am king," he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his heart, "then my first decree is this: the Exodus ends. We will no longer run. We will reclaim Tana Awu." Above them, the lava sea trembled this time, not with the rift's hunger, but with anticipation. The young king lifted his eyes, fire dancing across his irises. "The rift beasts will rise again," he said softly. "But so will we." And the city beneath the lava sea roared in thunderous approval. Chapter 8: The Ember Legion and the Beast. Above the clouds, the sky over the lava sea shimmered like molten glass as dawn crept across the horizon. Beneath it, the city beneath the lava sea pulsed with a steady crimson glow, the heartbeat of a civilization reborn in fire. From the highest balcony of the Cinder Crown, Rue gazed upward at the swirling storm clouds that circled the volcanic peaks like a crown of shadows. He had claimed the ancient diadem forged from living cinder, the crown that recognized only one rightful heir, the one destined to confront the rifts themselves. But the cost of that destiny pressed heavily against his chest. Every night since wearing the crown, dreams of a colossal winged silhouette towering above the clouds had clawed their way into his sleep. The dreams were warnings, and warnings were rarely gentle. The crown vibrated softly against his forehead as Elder Myra approached, her steps echoing through the volcanic stone corridor behind him. "It begins today, doesn't it?" she asked quietly. Rue nodded. "The rift beast in the clouds. It's watching, waiting for the next fracture. And we are not ready," Mira added, tension sharpening her voice. Rue turned toward her, embers flickering beneath his irises. "No, but we must be. For, high above the volcanic lands, beyond the reach of even the fiercest eruptions, a winged titan had awakened. Its beating wings stirred the rifts, widening cracks between worlds. If it descended, nothing from the Ashen Plains to the hidden lava city would survive. There was only one path: confront it before it descended. But Rue would not go alone. Forging the Ember Legion, the caverns beneath the Cinder Crown rumbled as the city's forges roared to life. Lava poured from sculpted channels, illuminating the cavern with molten gold. Rue extended both hands, drawing heat from the flows. The embers on his skin responded, glowing like fractured stars embedded beneath his flesh. One by one, warriors stepped forward. Survivors of Tana Awu, children of the Ashen Exodus, bearers of scars from the night the rift trembled. Each placed their hands upon the melting lava, allowing the ancient fire to judge them. Those who endured its heat without flinching would become part of a new force, the Ember Legion warriors, able to withstand the rift fire that burned between worlds. Rue forged their armor himself, calling upon the Cinder Crown. Plates of ember steel cooled into crimson-black armor that pulsed like living flame. Their weapons glowed faintly, ready to pierce the hide of creatures not born of this realm. Myra stepped forward last. "You should stay," Rue said softly. "The city needs you." She met his gaze with unwavering determination. "This city only stands because of you, and you'll only stand because of us." He placed a piece of ember steel over her heart. It sank into her armor like molten ore. "Then stand with me, Mira," he whispered. "We all will," she replied. Thus, the Ember Legion 50 warriors forged in fire was born. The ascent through the roaring peaks, the journey began at sunset. Rue led the Legion across the blackened plains, where hardened lava cracked beneath their feet. The path wound upward along the volcanic mountain spiral, where ash storms swirled like living creatures, and heat shimmered in the air thick enough to bend light. Above them, thunder pulsed from a vortex stitched with lightning, the home of the beast above the clouds. With every step, Rue felt the rift pulling him upward. It tugged at the ember inside him, the ember that had burned since his birth beneath the Ashen Moon. The rift recognized him. It hungered for him. Twice during the ascent, the ground ruptured. Rift fissures snapped open like jaws. From their depths emerged Shardling's creatures, made of fractured obsidian and flickering blue fire. The Ember Legion met them with a coordinated roar. Steel clashed against crystalline limbs. Sparks showered the mountainside. Mira swept her ember blade through the air, her strike exploding into 3 streaks of heat that sliced through a Shardling's torso. Rue threw out his arm. The beast above the clouds, the moment the Legion reached the summit, The clouds split with a sound like tearing worlds. Wings unfolded, each spanning wider than the crater of a volcano. Their edges shimmered with crackling blue fire. The beast's body was serpentine, covered in plates of obsidian black scales that reflected the storms swirling around it. Its elongated face bore 6 glowing eyes arranged in a vertical pattern, each capable of seeing a different realm simultaneously. The beast roared. The sky shattered. Lightning spiraled down in jagged streams. The summit shook violently. Rift fissures exploded outward, creating floating shards of land suspended in the storm. Ru, Mira shouted over the roaring wind. "I know," he whispered. The beast's 6 eyes flickered, and in that moment, Ru felt the truth crash over him. It wasn't merely a creature from the rift. It was the herald of the split realms, an entity sent to test whether their world was strong enough to withstand the coming convergence. If it deemed them too weak, it would tear the rift open completely. The Legion echoed her cry, ember steel weapons igniting in flame. The beast lunged forward. Ru leaped into the air, heat erupting from his feet. He soared upward, meeting the beast head-on. Their collision cracked the sky. The cinder crown blazed with ancient power, firing molten tendrils of energy into the creature's hide. The beast shrieked, its massive wings slicing through the storm, sending spiraling sonic waves that hurled warriors into the air. Mira caught a falling soldier, slamming her blade into a floating shard of land to anchor them both. The shard shuddered from the force. "Hold the line," she commanded. The Legion moved as one grappling cracks in the floating debris, firing volleys of ember fire at the creature's wings, stabbing into its underbelly whenever it descended low enough. It roared, and lightning spiraled around its horns, gathering into a crackling orb the size of a mountain. Myra's eyes widened, Ruit's calling the rift storm. Ru inhaled deeply. Then he ignited. His entire body erupted into living flame, brighter than any eruption, hotter than molten stone. The cinder crown glowed like a second sun. The beast unleashed its rift storm. Ru collided with it head-on. The explosion lit the sky for miles. Chapter 9, the Riftfall, and the Ashen Requiem. The sky above Tana Awu was no longer a sky. It had become a wounded, veil-fractured, trembling, streaked with rivers of crimson light that pulsed like the veins of a dying god. The great rift, once a single crack across the heavens, now spiraled downward in twisting currents of unstable magic. Each pulse of its heartbeat sent tremors racing across the land, shaking molten plains, boiling seas, and the ancient mountains that had stood for millennia. At the heart of these shifting storms stood Ru, Child of Embers, guardian of the Ashen Moon, chosen by prophecy and forged by fire. His cloak of woven cinder billowed behind him as he stood on the obsidian bridge overlooking the lava sea. The ember crown above his brow glowed brighter than ever, its inner flames flickering with unrest. "The rift is descending," whispered Kelly, her voice barely audible over the trembling ground. Her silver spear vibrated in her grip, reacting to the instability. "If it reaches the surface, the realms will collide. Everything our world and the world beyond will die." Ju nodded. "Riftfall," he murmured, repeating the ancient term found only in the most forbidden stone tablets. "The moment when the divide between worlds collapses." Behind them, the Ember Legion stood, ready warriors forged from fire, shadow, and will. Their armor glowed like molten metal, their eyes flickering with an inner blaze. They were Ru's shield, but even they trembled beneath the pressure of what was to come. The first rift beast had burned their village, the second had crushed half the mountains, the third had nearly torn the lava sea in half. Now, the final beast, the one prophesied to emerge at Riftfall, was clawing its way into existence. Ru drew in a slow breath as a low, rumbling roar echoed across the horizon. It had begun. The rift opens. The final descent. A jagged rip tore open near the heart of the sky, spilling black fire and violet sparks. From within its depths, a colossal silhouette began to form, too massive, too twisted, too ancient to belong to either world. Its roar split the air, sending cracks racing through the volcanic plain like lightning. Kelly exhaled sharply. Its presence, it's consuming everything. Ru could feel it too. The beast's very existence warped reality, bending shadows and twisting the air. "This is not merely a creature," said Ru, voice steady but heavy. "This is the rift itself, made flesh." As if in answer, a torrent of ashen wind swept across the plains, carrying the voices of the dead villagers lost in the first eruption, warriors devoured by earlier beasts, ancestors who had perished long before the prophecy was spoken. Their whispers wrapped around Ru, mournful yet resolute. "Child of Embers, our hope, our requiem." Ju pressed a hand to his chest, where the ember core pulsed with fiery warmth. "I will not let your sacrifices be in vain." The battle against the impossible, the rift beast landed, its titanic body sending shockwaves that cracked the obsidian bridge and split the plains. It had no single form, shifting rapidly between smoke, flame, and shadow, as if it could not decide which world it truly belonged to. Its eyes locked onto Rutu, enormous voids swirling with dying stars. The beast struck first. A tidal wave of rift fire shot toward the Ember Legion, distorting the air into streaks of roaring, chaotic light shields. Ru commanded. The Legion moved as one. Walls of molten steel rose from the ground, the air shimmering with intense heat. Rift fires slammed into them, shattering some shields, melting others, and sending half the Legion flying. Ru gritted his teeth. "Kelly, with me." The two charged forward, dodging bursts of unstable magic that twisted space around them. Kelly leaped, her spear slicing upward, carving a glowing gash across the beast's shifting hide. It roared, splintering into fragments of smoke before reforming and striking downward with a pillar of shadow. Ru raised both hands. The ember core surged. A shield of burning cinder exploded outward, holding back the attack. Yet, even with all his growing power, Ru could feel the truth. The beast could not be killed by force alone. Every wound they struck healed within seconds, its body absorbing flames, shadows, and magic like a living storm. Ru Kelly shouted, "We must take out the rift itself." Ru's eyes widened. "Yes, of course." The beast was not the true enemy the collapsing rift was. If they sealed the rift, the beast would lose the source of its rebirth. "It's time," Rue whispered. "The Ashen Requiem." Kelly's breath caught. "But that's a sacrifice, I know." The Ashen Requiem. Rue stepped forward, raising the ember core. Flames spiraled upward, forming ancient runes, symbols of the Ashen Moon, of lost guardians, of the first fire that birthed the prophecy. The ground split open. The lava sea answered the call. Pillars of molten light erupted, surrounding Rue in a circle of burning radiance. Kelly reached for him, but stopped. His expression told her everything. He had accepted the price. The sky dimmed as the rift began to collapse inward, sucking in stars and shadows alike. The rift beast roared in fury, trying to break through the barrier of molten light, but every step it took reformed into cinders under Rue's command. Rue closed his eyes. He saw his mother's face. He saw the village before the fire. He saw the children who followed him through the Ashen Exodus. He saw Kelly, loyal through every storm. He saw the Ember Legion, standing even as the world shook beneath them. Then he spoke the final words of the Requiem. "Let my flame seal the realms. Let my ash be the bridge they cannot cross." Light erupted from the ember core, towering into the sky, striking the rift with the force of a newborn star. The rift screamed. The beast shattered like glass. The sky ignited with swirling rivers of fire and shadow that bent inward toward the collapsing tier. Rue felt his body dissolve into embers, painful, warm, peaceful. Kelly screamed his name, rushing to the edge of the molten circle, but the barrier held her back. "Kelly," Rue whispered, voice fading, "guide them to the dawn." And with a final burst of light, the rift collapsed. Ash rained down over the silent land. Rue was gone. The land after Riftfall, silence, lingered for long minutes, heavy, reverent, unreal. Then, slowly, the sky cleared. The Ashen Moon shone bright, unbroken, serene. The lava sea calmed, glowing gently like a sleeping giant. Kelly knelt where Rue had stood, her hands trembling. Around her, the Ember Legion lowered their weapons. Their flames dimmed in mourning. A single ember drifted down, landing softly in Kelly's hand. It pulsed Rue's final gift, a spark of hope. Kelly rose, her voice steady, unbroken. "Today we mourn," she said. "Tomorrow we rebuild, and forever we remember." Across the realm, survivors lifted their heads, feeling for the first time in years the warmth of a peaceful sky. The rift had fallen, the requiem had been sung, and a new dawn awaited. Chapter 10: The Ashborn King and the Rebirth of Tana Awu. The sky above Tana Awu glowed with the final embers of the Riftfall, the great collapse of the ancient tier between realms. Ash drifted through the air like snow made of memories, settling upon the once shattered land for the first time in decades. The volcano's breath was steady, its rumbling softened into a low, ancient hum. It was as though the mountain itself were exhaling after centuries of holding back its rage. At the summit, amidst rivers of cooling magma and slopes painted gold by morning light, Ranu, the Child of Embers, stood motionless before the rift's remains. His hair shimmered like burning coals, his eyes reflecting the molten horizon. The ordeal had changed him. His skin bore cracks of glowing ember light, the mark of the ashen bond he had forged in the heart of the dying beast. The Riftfall had not only sealed the turret, had rewritten his destiny. Behind him, the surviving Ember Legion gathered in reverent silence. Their armor still steamed from the heat of battle, their faces etched with soot, exhaustion, and awe. No one spoke, for the shift in the world was palpable. The land itself had changed, so had its guardian. Ranu placed a hand over his heart. He felt it, a new flame, ancient, heavy, and royal, not born of bloodline, but of sacrifice. The mountain had chosen him. The silence after the storm. As the wind carried the scent of sulfur and rain, Asha, the last shadow seer, approached with her obsidian staff, tapping softly against the cooled basalt. Her cloak, woven from threads of shadow and ember, trailed behind her like midnight smoke. She studied Ranu with eyes that saw both the present and the future laid bare. "It is done," she whispered. "The rift is closed. The beast of the hollow sky has fallen, and the child of the prophecy has become something more than foretold." Ranu exhaled slowly, the heat of his breath shimmering in the morning air. "Yet the realm is wounded. Tana Awu is far from healed." Asha nodded. "A wound of centuries does not close in a single dawn. But you are no longer merely a survivor of this land." She touched his chest lightly. "You are its heir." Ranu didn't answer. He gazed across the valley, where the people of Tana Awu scattered, broken, and ash-stend were beginning to gather. They looked up at him with a mixture of fear, reverence, and desperate hope. For generations, they had fled from the mountain. Now they looked to it, to him, the coronation of fire and stone. Word traveled quickly. The rift had fallen, the great beast slain, the spirits calmed. By midday, survivors from the plains, the shadow villages, and the basalt footholds climbed the volcanic roads to witness what none would have dared imagine. At the center of the crater, surrounded by pillars of obsidian, the Ember Legion had carved as guardians. Ranu stood before a throne not made by mortal hands. When the rift collapsed, the mountain reshaped itself, summoning a seat of fused magma and volcanic crystal, glowing like the heart of a dying star. Asha lifted her staff, shadows bowing around her. In the age of ashes, when realms were torn and hopes scattered into embers, she declared, her voice echoing across the crater. A child born under the Ashen Moon rose to face the rift between worlds. He who tamed fire, who united shadow and ember, who sealed the wound of the land. Ranu, Child of Embers, becomes Ranu, the Ashborn King. The legions struck their spears into the ground, a thunderous salute. The people knelt, and the volcano answered. Flames spiraled upward from the crater's heart, twisting around Ranu in a radiant crown of living fire. The mountain recognized him not as a ruler forged by conquest, but as one born from sacrifice and sorrow. As the flames settled into a burning halo above his head, Ranu bowed his head humbly. "I accept the crown," he said, voice resonant with power and warmth, "not to command the land, but to heal it." The reawakening of Tana Awu under Ranu's first decree. The survivors began the great renewal, the rebirth of Tana Awu, the volcano. Gentle, for the first time in living memory, released fertile ash. The rivers, once choked with soot, ran clear. Strange new flowers, glowing faintly with ember-like petals, sprouted on the slopes. Creatures born from the rift's dying magic haunts, predators now, roamed peacefully under the Ashborn King's steady aura. Ranu traveled the land tirelessly, cooling molten fields so farmers could sow, shaping channels to guide lava into safe basins, calling ancient fire spirits to illuminate night settlements, calming the shadows that lurked at the edge of the world. With each step, the mountain responded. The slopes turned green and gold. The ash plains transformed into sparkling black soil meadows. The land was being reborn. The last breath of the rift, yet one final task remained. Deep beneath the volcano, buried under layers of stone and ancient fire, the rift's heartstone still pulsed a remnant of the tear that once connected realms. Alone, Ranu descended into the molten labyrinth, following the gentle pull of his ember-born senses. When he reached the Chambera Cathedral of molten stone, lit by veins of crimson crystal, the heartstone throbbed like a dying sun. He knew what it asked. Placing both hands upon its scorching surface, Ranu allowed his own ember fire to merge with it. His heartbeat synchronized with the dying star. His veins glowed, his breath became flame. For a moment, he saw everything: the past before the rift, the worlds that once touched, the sorrow of the first beast, the birth of the Ashen Moon, and the future, a land whole, a realm renewed, a people unbroken. With a final surge of will, Ranu released his flame. The heartstone dissolved into sparks, each spark drifting upward like a wish. The last remnant of the ancient wound was gone. The king and the mountain Ranu emerged at dusk, the sky painted in hues of purple and ember gold. The people cheered, wept, and embraced one another in joy. Asha bowed deeply, not as an advisor, but as one acknowledging a new age. "Tana Awu is whole," she said softly. Ranu looked at the mountain, now steaming gently like a sleeping guardian. "No," he whispered, smiling faintly, "Tana Awu is alive." The Ashborn King lifted his flaming crown toward the twilight sky, and for the first time in centuries, the Ashen Moon rose over a land reborn.